What is the quickest and the fastest way to take a business from basically zero and grow it into R1 million business or multi-million rand business per year? Or what's the quickest way to take an existing business and turn it into $1 million or multi-million rand or multi-million dollar business per year? In this Wealth Insights, you're in for a surprise, because I'm going to give you a simple but so easy strategy that you can follow and that you can implement almost immediately. And I hope that I can help you with this Wealth Insights in order to do that. I want to explain to you the principle, and once you understand the principle, you're going to see how easy it actually is. And then I'm also going to give you a practical example so that you can see in real life what I've done with one of the businesses that I'm in, not only to take the income up dramatically, but also to save myself time, so that at the present moment I'm actually doing nothing, but I do get to these kinds of figures. So let's start with the idea and the principle. If I'm selling a product for R1, I need to sell 1 million of those products in order to get to the million. You got it? Right. Now, what if I'm selling a product and the profit on that product is R10? That means I need to sell 100,000 units in order to make the million. Right. If we take it up one notch, you're going to find that if I sell it for R100, I only need 10,000. And therefore, if I'm selling it for R1,000, I only need 1,000 units at the end of the day. Right, so you can see where we're going with this one. 10,000, 100, 100,000, only 10. And then, of course, if I can sell and I've got the competency level and the skill level in order to sell a product or a service for R1 million, that means that I only need to sell one in order to get to my target. And the condition is, of course, that the target is, in this case, 1 million. Now, will you agree with me that if I want to sell a product at R10, that means that I need to sell 100,000 of these products in order to get to my million? And will you also agree with me, in order to sell the 100,000 units, I'm going to need a huge infrastructure. I'll need secretaries, I'll need a dispatch department, I'll need auditors and financial gurus just to check and to see that everything is okay. But if I'm going to sell 10 units for 100,000, then actually I don't even need an infrastructure. So the principle is, if you're selling products at a low price, you're going to be very, very busy. And the moment that we understand that, I think then you understand that in order to double your income, it's going to take less and less work. Can you literally see it? And this is the principle about the W Income by Working Less course that I've got, and you can find it at wincomebyworkingless.com if of course you want to do that course, and it's for free if you're going to follow a special link, that is the Wealth Creators University, student.wealthcreatorsuniversity. Now let's take this and make it more practical. About 9 years ago, Tanya came to me. I retired at the age of 37, and mainly because of my property portfolio, and she said to me, go and teach people how to invest in property, because she discovered that people really do not know. Everyone's got property, but they don't know how to invest in property. So I thought, okay, what's the quickest and the easiest way for me to get in the market? And I decided to write a book. So I started writing a book, and at one stage the book was basically finished, and I thought, okay, now how on earth am I going to get this book out? And the logical conclusion that I made at that point was, take it to a publisher. So I approached a publisher or two. We sat down. First of all, I've never written a book. My English is definitely not that good. So I think because of that, they said to me, well, they're not 100% sure if this thing is going to be a winner. And in order to be a top writer in South Africa, you need to sell only 4,000 books. Believe it or not, 4,000 books. And then they said, okay, after they listened to me and they got my history, a book on property investments, at that stage, they reckon it would sell between 130 to 150. And then they told me about all the risks that they're going to take. They wanted to know my marketing strategy, how I'm going to promote this book. And it sounded like a lot of work. I thought you're going to write a book and then that's the end of the story. But the promotion of that book, really, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. So I looked at this and I thought, no ways. this is not a wealth creator strategy. Now, what's a wealth creator strategy? A wealth creator strategy is intelligent use of limited resources. Biggest limited resources at that point in time, my time and effort. To go from the level that you're at to the level there where you want to be. In other words, from where you are to where you want to be in the shortest possible time with the least amount of risk. And I said to Tanya that I will do that on condition that I'm going to make at least $1 million or 2 or 5 million out of the deal. I don't want to go through all that trouble if you're not going to make $1 million. I mean, I was on retirement at that stage. There was no reason for me to do it, unless, of course, I could help a lot of people and get to certain financial goals. So I sat down and I said, okay, what am I going to do? So I broke it down into 2 sections in the beginning. The first section, I literally changed it and I started with a beginner's course. Okay? The same book, I turned it into a manual. And then I said, okay, I'm going to turn it into the intermediary. This is basically the book that I wrote, but I converted it into a manual. Okay, so by doing that, guess what I did? And then of course I used the Property Pro program that I've developed already in 1987. I used exactly the same and I started teaching on this. The beginner's course, very basic elementary course. Well, apparently it's not that basic and it took like a whole day. And then the property investment course, and there's really a lot of people that ask for that. So in 2002, 3, 4 and 5, I started teaching this and there were literally thousands of people. But what I want to tell you, I converted a 10 Rand product into approximately between 1,000 and 10,000 at that stage, more or less 5,000, 6,000 product in total. Right, can you see what happens? In other words, because the competency level increased, therefore I had to sell a lot less units to get to the goal. And then approximately a year or so later, my students were coming back and they would say to me, Hannes, but what about property developments, and what about property warrants, and what about syndications, and what about commercial properties, and can you use exactly the same thing? And I did a whole course, a full day course, just on that, using exactly the same material, in other words the same program, but I expanded it a little bit. And then in 2005 I decided, I started with a mentoring course at that point in time that took up a lot more time than I bargained for initially, and I simply turned that product then into the service into a product. And the way that I did it was, this then became, I took a video of it the whole day and I converted this into a CD series. So it's approximately a full day, and I started selling the beginner's course at exactly the same price that I sold the seminar for. And then what I did, believe it or not, I turned the day program into, again, a product. In other words, instead of me standing there the whole day, I turned it into a product. Okay? And this specific product was done in 2005 with exactly the same program that I've used since 1987. So not a lot of time. And then I sat down and for a full day we recorded the advance. And if you take this whole package that we're selling it without me having to work at all for this, because I've put in the time and the effort once to get the money, in other words the intelligent use of limited resources, we're selling it for in the vicinity of 10,000 Rand. So I hope that you can see, simply by working smarter, that you can get a lot easier to your goal. So the trick is, how on earth do I do this? The only thing that you need to do is to increase your competency level. So in the coaching program, what we actually do, we take you by the hand and we guide you. Because unless you're going to have clarity, unless you know exactly what it is that you want and how to get there, there's no ways that you're going to make it at the end of the day. So in the coaching program, I've taken Leon as an example, my first coaching student, and I said to him, Leon actually paid 500,000, which is a lot more than 100,000. So I only had to get 2 of those students to get to the million. Eventually, it turned out that he has paid a lot more than $1 million in terms of the coaching fees up to now. But for the first year, that was the deal. Right. And I literally took him and we converted a business that he had that that was not successful, we converted that business into a successful business. In other words, he started making profit within 4 days, and 3 months later he launched his first business that makes 639,000 Rand for a single day. So I think you can see that the moment that you've got guidance, the moment that you know exactly what to do, what's the next step, then it's going to become a lot easier. I want to invite you to a webinar that we are doing on a regular basis. You'll find it at www.wealthcreatorscoach.com/harness. If you're not going to put in the harness, you're going to land at the page where you have to pay for that webinar. But because you're my student and because you're listening to me at the moment, I really truly want to give that webinar for you for free. Now, here's my promise. I promise you that you're going to learn 10 times more in that webinar than what I've shared with you today. It's approximately a 2-hour webinar, but it's packed, literally packed with information. So I hope that I'll see you there, but if not, I hope that you've enjoyed this Wealth Insights. This is Dr. Dreyer, your Wealth Creators coach and mentor, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next Wealth Insights. See you.